Hey, it's Chris Barnes from 6 Feet Under, original vocalist of Cannibal Corpse, and you're watching Metal Debates Podcast. Keep it brutal.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to say my dad said do not fart, but he's a nerd. So I want to share this advertisement with you. Chris. What? So this is our advertisement. And I wanted to say, please subscribe, hit that bell button, and leave a thumbs up in the comments. Keep it metal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Metal Debates Podcast. I am Toby McDonald. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to do Iron Maiden. So like every episode we do, it's impromptu, nothing scripted. Just going to kind of go through my personal experience with Iron Maiden. It's not like most people need any background on Iron Maiden. They're only pretty much the biggest heavy metal band in history of the world, other than maybe Metallica, but you know how I feel about Metallica. Iron Maiden actually was my first concert I ever went to as a kid and as a grown, teenager. So I'll get into that. Today, I think I'm just going to kind of start off on the history. We'll play a couple videos. We'll do the Paul Dianno stuff. I won't do any Blaze Bayley era stuff. I don't think anyone cares about that. I mean, sure, they're actually not bad, but whatever. We'll get into that. Maybe play something from the Bruce Dickenson era. Maiden's a hard one to do because they will probably block me if I play anything legit. So that being said, let's hop right in. And again, if you guys are here, you like this video, like my daughter said in the intro, please subscribe, like the video, whatever you click on, whatever, to help, people find this. This is all for fun again, and hopefully we'll get a big enough audience, enough subscribers that hopefully the near future, we can start, having you guys call in the show, have Zoom debates, and make this a Metal Debates podcast like it's supposed to be. Again, right now we're just doing content. So that being said, let's dive right into Iron Maiden. They pretty much started, I want to say, the year I was born, which is 1975. So I think the first Iron Maiden, the actual record came out in like 78 or something. But the first time I ever heard them personally was, I was in like third grade, and it was Run to the Hills off Number of the Beast. It was that and Quiet Riot, I want to say. I bought both of those CDs not CDs, Jesus. They were 45s. I bought those at the same time. So it was like, Come On, Feel the Noise. And then I also got Run to the Hills. Not positive if the 45s had a backside on them. I don't even remember. If it did, it was definitely Number of the Beast, but I don't remember. But I remember my parents just telling me, like, I played that Run to the Hills 45 over and over and over again, like to the point where literally I'd never forget my mom. And this is third grade. Ironically enough, my daughter that did that little subscribe, whatever thing, but right before this, she's in third grade. So it's crazy how, I was the same age, but whatever. But my mom came in and was like, can you please stop playing that song over and over and over? It's driving me nuts. So that was my first band that I truly can say was just, affected me to the point where I'm like, I got it. And so from that day on, that got me into metal. And to this day, everybody said, oh yeah, when you get older, you'll grow out of that shit. No, I haven't. So I'm 46 right now, 47. I don't even know, whatever. I don't even know. I swear to God, I don't know how old I am. I think I'm 46. But to this day, I have friends like, dude, you don't still listen to that crap, do you? And I'm like, yep. In fact, I even listen to way more extreme stuff than Iron Maiden. So Maiden's like classic rock compared to what I'm into. So, anyways, so that's kind of how I got into Iron Maiden. From that, I had then went out and bought the full record of Number of the Beast, and it was just like, whoa, like, you know, everyone back then, parents were like, your kid's going to hell, you know, it's satanic. It was on the news, like all that stuff. So that, of course, attracted me to it even more. And I think, you know, they knew what they were doing. But, you know, the whole Eddie imagery and, you know, the 666 Number of the Beast. I think I just spit. Anyways, I have a fever right now, believe it or not. So bear with me. I'm trying to power through one of these. I've been exposed to COVID, which is a real thing. Luckily, I tested negative. I've done 2 tests, so I think I just have something else. So we'll find out, I guess. But other than the sweats and kind of whatever, I feel okay, other than I'm a little congested, as it probably sounds like. So anyways, back to the thing. Yeah, so I went back after I got Number of the Beast record. I played the crap out of that. I did not back then, obviously, when you're in 3rd grade, you're not like reading much magazines and even knowing anything else other than I just knew Eddie and Iron Maiden. And then Power Slave came out. I bought that as soon as it came out. It was just the artwork, and that was a full album. I mean, amazing. As I got older, obviously, all those Iron Maiden albums, the Bruce Dickinson era Iron Maiden albums were amazing. And then I finally, as I got a little bit older, went back and got the Paul Dianno stuff. Obviously, Iron Maiden, self-titled, and Killers. Those albums took me a minute just because, you know, when you first get into a band and the way you get into them is from one singer, and then you go back and hear an old singer, whatever. It's just kind of, it's not what you're used to. So it took me a minute. But to this day, I would say the first Iron Maiden album is really raw and great songs on that album. But Killers is probably one of my top 3 or 4 Iron Maiden albums. I mean, there's so many amazing records. It's hard to say, but I think Killers is just killer. Oh, funny. So I'm going to play a song real quick from Killers. Let's see what I can find. And again, hopefully I don't get blocked, you guys. This is actually the song Killers from 1981. And this was Paul Dianno on vocals. I'll just play a little bit of it. If this does get blocked, I apologize if you guys are watching nothing at this point, but here we go. This will kind of show you pretty much, you know, the Paul Dianno era and how they sounded back then. And this is live at the Rainbow 1980. Yeah. So here we go. Killers. All right, so that was a little snippet there of Killers Alive back in 1980, I guess it was. Paul Dianno. Um, Before I get off of Paul Dianno's era, I saw him. This is kind of a weird thing, actually, because when I saw him, it was advertised as Paul Dianno playing the first two Iron Maiden albums exclusively. And this was, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe. And when we got there, and it was a packed house, and everyone's wearing the Iron Maiden shirts, old school Maiden fans, blah, blah, blah. He started playing like shit from his solo records, and he even played like an AC/DC cover. And people got kind of restless and were kind of like, he seemed like honestly, he was drunk and just acting like a total fucking dumbass. So I got really turned off by that dude. I was like, you know what? A lot of people were literally booing and leaving early because, they paid that money to get in to hear him play those records. And he's just like, fuck you, I'll play whatever I want. Or whatever British accent. I don't know how to do it, but and so it's like, no, like, then fucking why did you advertise the show as playing Killers and the first Iron Maiden album, like all the way through or whatever it was, and even had the old school writing, and so it was false advertising. So I'm sure Paul Dianno back in the day, I loved him. Like his shit, Killers was, like I said, one of my favorite records that Iron Maiden ever put out. But I would assume the dude probably ended up in rehab or some shit because he was a fucking mess. So that being said, I wish I never saw that, to be honest, because it really tainted my opinion on that dude. But it also at the same time went to show you, like, probably why the dude got kicked out of the band. He was a fuck up. And I don't mean, well, I guess I do mean that personally, because I'm still kind of pissed at that show that I saw. But I would say they made the right decision to get rid of that dude and bring in Bruce Dickenson. I get the people that say, even Paul talks shit on Bruce Dickinson almost the entire show that I saw him at. Anytime someone would say like anything about Iron Maiden, he's like, I don't sing opera. Like this same bullshit he says all the time. He acts like he's all punk. So he wasn't punk. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, he thought he was GBH or, Crass or Conflict or Discharge. No, you're Iron Maiden. He's still a melodic singer. He just didn't have the range as Bruce Dickinson. But you know what? He didn't give a fuck, so I got to give him props on that. So that's all I'm going to say about the Paul Dianno era. I love that shit. I'll never say that I don't. I just have a bad experience with that dude in recent years. So that's me. And then we get into Number of the Beast, which, again, it's the first record I ever heard from them. Fucking probably at least the top 5 heavy metal records of all time, if not top 2, 1 or 2. I think you might have to give the nod to Black Sabbath just because they were first. And then you got Priest and Iron Maiden fighting out for probably the number 2 or number 3. I would personally prefer Iron Maiden over Judas Priest, but I respect the shit out of both of them, and it's a close tie, whatever, close second, third, whatever. So Bruce Dickinson came to the band from a band called Samson. You can go back and listen to that. I don't know the whole story on how he got in the band. I would assume they probably auditioned some people. I think I read somewhere where they saw him play live and, they're like, do you want to come try out? And he just destroyed it. He played some of the, old school material. And then, whatever, he got into the band and then put out Number of the Beast. And from there, it was kind of like game over. Like, it took them way to the next level. They had a lot of momentum after Killers, at least in their local country and whatever. But yeah, Number of the Beast just made them world famous. And that's kind of the beginning of the Iron Maiden most of us know to this day. So from there, went to Power Slave. Like I said, another amazing album, heavy as shit. I mean, God, like Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, probably one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs. It's 14 minutes long, which I guess in modern day Maiden, that's kind of average. But back then it was like, oh my God, a 14-minute song, and it didn't bore you at all through the song. I love that one. The song Power Slave is so heavy. Classic. The artwork, holy shit. Like, that's one thing about Maiden. They kind of did what Kiss were doing, but they were heavier and obviously a lot more metal than Kiss, and kind of a more serious band than Kiss. But Eddie kind of was, the whole, it was part of their whole package. So it's like Eddie always was changing. And man, like as a kid, I had all the action figures and everything I possibly could get as a kid that had to do with Eddie and Iron Maiden, as much as my parents would allow me to. I remember going on the way to elementary school, like walking to school, there was kind of a novelty shop. I don't even remember what it was called, but they had like a little section where they had the pins, like the ones you see people put on their little battle jacket things or whatever you call them. And I remember buying and painter's hats. Forgot about those. I had a painter's hat that I bought. They were popular back when I was that age. And then I got a Purgatory pin and then a Number of the Beast pin. And I'd roll around with that thinking I was so cool. And I don't know why I remember that, but that's part of it. Then, they go into somewhere in Peace of Mind. Shit, I totally fucked up. I'm doing this improvised. Peace of Mind was after Number of the Beast. I don't know how I messed that up. Blame it on my fucking fever. Peace of Mind was fucking amazing as well. I mean, shit. Where Eagles Dare. Holy crap. Revelations. Obviously the Trooper, great song, but after you've heard it like 5 billion times, it kind of gets old. But Still Life, like there's so many amazing songs on that one. That one was a little bit more polished sounding, the production wise anyways. And then Power Slave. Sorry, I fucked up on that. I'm not going to edit this. It's live. I don't care. You know what I'm talking about. Then Power Slave. And then after Power Slave was Somewhere in Time. That was where they kind of went a little bit more progressive, proggy, I guess. I don't know. And I think they kind of added some synthesizer stuff in there. But I mean, there's some absolutely fucking classic songs on that record. Alexander the Great, like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Obviously, Wasted Years, Caught Somewhere in Time, just another brilliant Iron Maiden album. And then they went on to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And that kind of polarized some fans for whatever reason. I think it was more, I think the synthesizer thing became a lot more prevalent in that. And I guess there was a time where they said that they were never going to use synthesizers or something. So some of the old school guys kind of tapped out. But me personally, I fucking love that album. I repeat myself saying the same shit over and over. It's one of my favorite Iron Maiden albums. It's like, there's so many good ones. It's like, how can you really decide? But I mean, Moonchild, fuck, man, Evil That Men Do, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. There's so many amazing songs on that record. And the production, some people are like, I think it fucking rules. I loved it. Then we go to No Prayer for the Dying. So I have a couple different opinions on that era. For one, it was the first concert I ever went to. I was probably on my own. Like I drove myself with friends or whatever. I was like 16 years old. Irvine Meadows, 1991. In fact, this is the first concert shirt that I ever purchased in my entire life. I still have it. see if I can show it on the, I don't know if this is going to work. That was a what was it called? No Prayer on the Road tour. And that was with Anthrax during the Persistence of Time. Here's the back. I don't know if I can't even see it. So hopefully you guys can see that. So I still have the shirt, man. I still wear it. So believe it or not, it still fits me. I don't know how, but that tour was fucking amazing. Probably because it was the first time I had ever seen Iron Maiden live. And I also was a huge fan of Anthrax at that time. So just that package together, Persistence of Time, is fucking amazing. So Anthrax played a lot of those songs from that record and kind of got it fired up. And then Maiden came out, and it was just like 15,000 people just going ape shit. And there was fights, like someone up in the grass area got stabbed, and there was literally fights in front of me. And it was just like, it was everything that my parents warned me about happened. And I was like, yes, like this is fucking awesome. So, that being said, Fear of the Dark fucking sucks. Oh, such a letdown. Yeah, there's a couple songs that are tolerable. It's actually a pretty heavy album, but for Iron Maiden standards, it's like, man, the first part of Tail Gunner is pretty cool. You know, the actual title track, No Prayer for the Dying, I like that. But Run Silent, Run Deep. But, you know, it's hard pressed to really say that stuff can hold a candle to anything they did prior. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? We got No Prayer for the Dying fans out there? If so, let me know. So after that, it was like, okay, hopefully the next record is going to get back to kind of a good record again. And so, yeah, they put out Fear of the Dark. Fucking hate that record too. I can't stand that record. It's terrible. Other than, yes, when it kicks off with Be Quick, Be Dead, it's like, you're like, yeah, this album's gonna fucking rule. And then that just kind of halfway through the song, I was like, I don't know. And then, yes, Afraid to Shoot Strangers is actually a cool song. I really do enjoy that. Obviously, the title track, Fear of the Dark, is a staple in their live set. So it's probably a little bit better than No Prayer for the Dying. But there's some, like, what is this song on there? There's a couple that are just so absurd, like Weekend Warrior.
Some of the things that you've done, you feel so ashamed. After all, it's only a game, isn't it? And after all, the adrenaline's gone. What you gonna do on Monday? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Come on, Wasting Love, like a ballad. I don't know. I guess that was at a time where they probably went as far as they probably could creatively. And I don't know. It was kind of like, I get it. Like, that was the end of the Bruce Dickinson era, at least for a while. I don't know why or what the deal was, if he was just over the music they were playing, sick of the music they were playing, needed a different outlet. Who knows why? Then they went out, and instead of just calling it quits, which I'm sure that was a brutal thing to lose, arguably the best heavy metal vocalist of all time, to leave your band. So they had to go get another singer, and they brought in Blaze Bayley. That was their final decision. So they put out the X Factor, I want to say was the first one, which, you know, if you listen to that record, and I liked it better than Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying. Yeah, Blaze's vocal style, he actually is a very good vocalist. His stuff before that, what were they called? I forget. I'm not going to ramble on about him, but his other records that he did without Maiden, like, his voice is great. it's just something about with Iron Maiden. It just didn't really mix right. Um, and so while I do like that record, the X Factor, it's still hard to get past the vocals. And, God, that guy seems like a genuinely good person. And I just don't know that maybe that was the right choice for Iron Maiden. The only cool thing about that was I got to see them play like in front of like literally 1,500 people. Like, so yeah, metal at that time was during that era was not popular at all. So that combined with, Blaze Bailey and whatever, I think people were just kind of like only the super diehard Iron Maiden fans were showing up to those gigs. And it was cool. I mean, live, it was cool to be able to kind of see him in a little bit more intimate setting than just like a huge stadium or a big arena, So God bless the dude. Then they did Virtual 10 or wait, 11? Yeah, XI. I guess Virtual XI would mean Virtual 11. So I didn't like that one as much. There's some good songs on it, I guess, but there's also some fucking horrible songs. Like, just if you can muster through The Angel and the Gambler, like, oh, dude, never mind. It's fucking horrible. And at the same time, and I'm not trying to diss those dudes, especially Blaze. I think that it wasn't Blaze's fault even that those records weren't that great. It was the band just was writing some kind of lame stuff. And yeah, there was some good stuff, but like The Angel and the Gambler, like, what are you doing? Like, whatever. It was just a bad time for the band. And at the same time during that, you had Bruce Dickinson out there doing solo stuff. And I won't get into him as solo because this is more on Iron Maiden, but he put out some records like Tattooed Millionaire, Balls to Picasso, Skunk Works. The earliest stuff that he did, it was kind of a mix of some metal with some kind of, I don't know. It was a different vibe, and maybe that's what he needed to do, is kind of just explore and experiment with some other types of music. And I actually enjoyed those records. And then when he came out with Accident at Birth, it was just like, whoa, like, he's back. Like, that shit was heavy as fuck. And Adrian Smith, I think he joined on the one after that, but Roy Z, whatever, they kicked ass. That Accident at Birth album was amazing. And his vocals was just like goosebump worthy.
He rides the wave, a spiral slave. The prince of darkness plays his games.
And then he came out with Chemical Wedding, another masterpiece. God. And I can only imagine at that point the band was probably hearing those albums just going, oh my God, like, Bruce sounds amazing. And so they got Bruce back in the band, thank God, after those first two records, or the last two records they did. And then that's when Brave New World came out, and that was his return. I was at that first show in LA. What was that? The Ed Hunter tour. Oh man. Like, that was just like during the time with Blaze Bailey, like, I would listen to Live After Death, which I didn't even mention that record. Probably the best live album of all time from any metal band ever. And I would just be like, man, I wish, God, I can't believe that, this band is not the same anymore. And when they announced that Bruce Dickinson was coming back and they were going to do a tour, it was just like, holy shit, yes. So I remember they played at the Greek Theater. It was Iron Maiden and Monster Magnet, who literally got booed off the stage. And I like that band, so I felt bad for those dudes. But, Maiden fans are pretty intense. And Soulfly, which I already did an episode on Max Cavalera, played before them and fucking ruled that show. I already talked about that in one of the episodes. Granted, most people there had no idea about Soulfly, but for me, I was like, yeah. So yeah, Bruce was back, and I remember they came out to Aces High, and the place went ape shit. And then they actually did Brave New World after that tour was over. So, and then that's when they had the 3 guitar players, but Brave New World was like welcome home. Like it was fucking great record. It was definitely a different sound than No Prayer for the Dying. I think they had a different producer or whatever, but the songs like Blood Brothers and Ghost of the Navigator, Wicker Man, Brave New World. That album is very Nomad. I love that album so much. So they did that record, and they pretty much started going back to playing stadiums on that tour again, or at least big arenas back then, after that. So after that one, that we had Dance of Death, and that record, I love that record. A lot of people don't, but just the song Passchendaele alone is worth the price of that record. So that tour was interesting because when I saw them on that tour, they played, maybe some of you guys were there, in Hollywood. I don't know what it's called now, or if it's even still there. It was at Universal Amphitheater. And Arch Enemy opened up with Angela singing. It was fucking awesome, but whatever. They did the Dance of Death, and it was very theatrical, like always, but this one was a little bit more sound effects. And it's the first time, believe it or not, that I've seen Iron Maiden. This was an indoor kind of arena thing. I've always seen them at outdoor arenas for whatever reason. But it was badass tour. It was kind of cool because they only had I don't want to say they only had like one West Coast show, or not many in the United States at all during that tour. So the crowd was just totally into it. And there's a lot of people that came from like all over the world, literally, to see that show. But what made that show crazy was, I don't remember what song they were playing, but Bruce, him running all around the stage like a little kid, he fell off one of the, I don't know if it was a drum riser or one of the PA stacks or whatever the hell it was, but he fell legit like 10, 15 feet onto his side. And the band really didn't even see it happen. They're, just jamming, playing their songs, and he's literally laying on the ground looking lifeless, literally. And so the crowd was just like, holy shit. Like, is he okay? What's going on? Then you can see the band kind of looking over, like, is he going to get up? Like, what the fuck? And they stopped the song. They stopped everything. He eventually got up, he continued the show, but he broke ribs. Like he was in bad shape. So, God bless him for continuing that show. I mean, that guy is a fucking stud. And, I said I wouldn't get into Bruce Dickenson that much, but I mean, come on, man. Is there anybody that's his age that can do what he's doing, flying his own jets to the gigs? He's a public speaker, entrepreneur, fucking soccer player, fencer, like world class. Like, I mean, the guy is an absolute just freak of nature, beat cancer. I mean, God bless him. So love him or hate him, you cannot deny that dude's talent and just his drive. Like, he's older than most of our fucking parents and some of your guys' grandparents, and still runs around stages like a 20-year-old kid, then goes and flies a freaking jet right after the show to the next city. So, all right, I got off on a tangent there, but after that record, and that was just one of those shows again that I'll never forget. And you could look it up on YouTube. It's probably on there somewhere where someone probably filmed it or whatever. Then they did Dance of Death. No, Dance of Death, I already said that. Matter of Life and Death. I'm not even sure at what point was the Ozfest where I was there, right in the orchestra, where they did the Early Days tour, and they played the Ozfest where Sharon Osbourne fucked with their sound. People were throwing eggs at them. I think it might even be called Egg Fest now. I was literally there in the orchestra watching people throw fucking eggs at them. It was so sad, man. Sharon Osbourne, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. She is what she is. You guys can come up with your own opinion on her. Whatever. But it was pretty funny because they went through the whole set. They were taking these peltings of eggs. I saw people, like legit bands that I know the band members of, throwing eggs. Anyone that was managed by Sharon was given eggs, like cartons of eggs, and just said, start pelting them. So at first we were like, what the hell's going on? Like, what's wrong with these people? Like, Maiden's like, what? Like, it was so weird. And then we kind of all figured out what was going on. They were turning their power off. They just kept chugging along, kept playing. And then Bruce Dickenson just went on some epic rants about reality TV shows and that Sharon wanted them to cut their set short for whatever reason. And he's like, fuck you. So it was just, who knows? I'm sure who knows the real story behind why it happened. I want to say that was the last did Maiden quit the tour after that, or was it just the end? I don't remember, but that was total infamy right there, that egg fest. So I was glad I left right after Iron Maiden, in fact, before Sabbath even came out, because Sharon came out and pretty much yelled at the crowd, and didn't yell at the crowd, but just said, fuck Bruce Dickinson, fucking, whatever. And she got booed off the stage at her own festival, which was pretty fucking classic. And I'm not joking when I say half the crowd left after she came out and ranted. So that was that. So if you guys were there, let me know, like, your take on it. It was crazy, man. Anyways, so Matter of Life and Death, next studio record after that. That was an interesting one. Pretty good record. Weird thing about that is on that tour, they played literally that record from beginning to end. And at least the time I saw them, the crowd was definitely getting restless. Like, why are they only playing this album? Because people don't read. They don't, they told everybody ahead of time what they were doing. It didn't take rocket scientists to find out what they were going to do. They were going to play that record from beginning to end and then do like a little encore and play, some of the hits. So I thought it was a ballsy move, and it was pretty cool. It was something different, that's for sure. It's like, it wasn't just another greatest hits tour, and those kind of get old after a while, to be honest, especially with a band like that you've seen 5 billion times, which I can't even tell you how many times I had seen them, up to that point. So that was a Matter of Life and Death. Then, God, what did we do? After that was The Final Frontier, which kind of got a mixed review from fans. I personally really like that record. In fact, I haven't played any Bruce Dickinson stuff. So instead of just playing like something you guys know or whatever, Run to the Hills or some Trooper, some bullshit, I'm actually going to play a song from The Final Frontier. This is a song called The Talisman. I'm just going to kind of cue it up here. So if you guys haven't heard this record, which I'm sure many of you have, but I don't know, I thought it was killer. I don't really get why a lot of people didn't like it. It was whatever. So this is The Talisman from Iron Maiden, from The Final Frontier.
Could imagine what you were.
Oh man, love that song. It's been a long time since I've heard that. Fuck, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I feel like shit right now. Apologize. Um, yeah, so I love that record again. Whatever. You guys have your own opinions. What do you guys think about it? Then for those that don't like it, why? Um, I got to try to wrap this up in a minute before I literally pass out on this camera. Book of Souls was after that. It's kind of funny with Iron Maiden because, like, when Book of Souls was released, people were proclaiming it the best record Iron Maiden's ever put out, ever. And I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, cool. There's some good songs and whatnot, but it's like, I think people are so just into, like, how do I even describe it? It's like they anticipate Iron Maiden albums so much in advance that when they come out, even if the album sucks, which they don't have albums that really suck, but they have some that aren't that great. And, a lot of people don't like the post, when Bruce Dickenson came back moving forward, like after Brave New World, there's some people that are like kind of, nah, not into it, whatever. They changed. They're a little bit more progressive now, proggy, I guess, and their songs are longer and long intros and like the whole deal. But Book of Souls, I was watching the people do reviews like, oh my God, this is a masterpiece, classic, best thing I've ever heard in my life. And I was kind of like, nah, I don't think so. I guess I don't need these on anymore. Fuck, sweating. But it was a good record for what it was. I think I liked even Final Frontier better and whatever, but I still do like the record a lot. But it is what it is. I'm glad people like it, but I think even Blabbermouth gave it like a 10 out of 10. And it's like what? Like the best album of all time? Like, no, it was still a great record, but I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that one. And now they have a new record that's coming out, and I don't even know what it's called. Well, I do know what it's called, but it doesn't matter. I've heard 2 songs from it. Stratego, whatever the fuck you call it. I don't know how you even pronounce it. And then the Writing on the Wall. I don't even have an opinion yet. It takes me literally probably 15, 20 times to listen to Iron Maiden songs before I can even legit figure out if I like it, because they're one of those bands where like the first time you hear it or second, third time, you're like, I don't know that I like it. The next thing you know, it's like in your head all night and you're like, shit. And then after like 20 times of listening to it, you're like, holy shit, this is badass. Like, how did I not love this from the beginning? So I have heard those songs a couple times through, and I think it's promising, but I'm not going to give my full on like 2 cents. What do you guys think? I'm sure there's people out there that have heard them over and over and over again. It's Maiden, so it's, I think the second one, the second single, Stratego, or I'm looking at it, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I remember it just starting off like the galloping, typical Maiden, and the Writing on the Wall was a little different, kind of. I know it started off kind of almost sounding like a country song or something weird, but then it kicked in and it was like, I do love that song. I just haven't listened to it more than like 10 times yet. So, I really like every Iron Maiden album. I cannot wait for it to come out. So, I think that's about all I got, man. They're obviously one of my favorite bands of all time. And one cool thing about Iron Maiden is those guys, through thick, thin times, every genre of music kind of went and gone. They never, ever sold out. And they did what they wanted to do. They stayed true to their sound. They never, very rarely got any publicity. Like when did you ever see them on MTV or even played on the radio? Even like back in the day, like KNAC, where I'm from in Los Angeles, 105.5 KNAC, the biggest metal radio station, hard rock radio station in the country at that time. And I don't think they ever, they would play every now and then like a song, but they just never really I don't know, catered to them, like the media for some reason. And the band didn't really get into interviews, kind of stayed away from all that. And, that's cool because, well, the reason it's cool is because they're selling fucking stadiums out and they have no publicity or like bands like Metallica, they were on MTV 24/7 going on all those lame shows on there like TRL or whatever, like looking all pretty and cutting their hair off and, doing their thing and just pouring themselves out to the press and the media. And it worked, obviously, but Maiden never did any of that crap. And yet, to this day, they could sell out pretty much any stadium in the world. So much love and respect to Iron Maiden. I'm going to end it there. I think, I don't know, you guys know about Maiden. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents, my personal experience on Iron Maiden. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you wouldn't mind, again, click the like and subscribe and all that shit. I'd really appreciate it.